ambiance from the nearby pig farms as the temperature heats up. That took some getting used to. You're used to it. All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks. All right, so my company is called Dwolla. So it's easy for me to kind of like just ramble, but it's much easier if I know who kind of is in the room. So, like, who the fuck are you people? Are you, like, if you're a middle manager, like, and you're in charge of like a groups deploying like mobile stuff, you like raise your hand like if you're in charge of groups deploying stuff? Are you like marketing? Dev? People who just buy shit sometimes. Like, cool. Alright, so lots to talk about. Like, this is just kind of me rambling. This is a talk that I tried at Aware. It went pretty well, so we pulled a 10-minute kind of talk and do a 60-minute talk this morning on an airplane, so we'll see how it goes. If you have questions, please let me know. So Dwolla itself is a payment network. Its goal is to essentially allow anyone with an internet connection to get access to their money instantly and exchange it for someone else at a very low cost. Our cost structure is at a retail level. Transactions over $10 are 25 cents a transactions. Transactions under $10 are totally free. So obviously there's billions, if not trillions of dollars in circulation that are under $10, and we just think that our platform can set that free. So we're not trying to build we're not a Visa, we're certainly not building a fucking mobile wallet. We are building a payment network, which we believe can be the foundation for accelerating transactions in modern society. So credit cards, the way they work is kind of like dial-up. It's a relay system. It shouldn't be. That's stupid. Let's get rid of it. Let's speed it up. Let's take the problems out and just do it better. So payments have a huge problem. The market is gigantic, and there aren't that many people working actually on fixing the problems in payments, but there's lots of people building shit on top of the problem. So our viewpoint is that payments are overly complex because of the fact that people have just built too many fucking band-aids on top of the other stuff that's not working right, and it's just created this weird minefield of problems, which is amazingly difficult to predict. But a few consultants probably get paid really, really, really well. So payments really don't need to be complicated at all. It's all about, I want to exchange money with you because I want something from you. I don't care if that's inside of an app. I don't care if that's because I owe you money. I don't care if it's a beer, food, diapers, jeans. It doesn't matter. I'm exchanging value with you, and that should be simple. The fact that it's not is, well, that's where we think the opportunity is. It really is simple. So just take out all the complicated shit and start over. It's exactly what we did. And that's again why we kind of think that the fix is an architecture problem. It's not a Band-Aid. You just have to start totally over. The current system does so many things like wrong that you just can't fix it with Band-Aids. Again, by design, you should just be able to do basic things like exchange money because you want to, and the inherent connection will be the internet. You could use SMS, but at the end of the day, it's got to settle on something. So this is something that I think is, if there's spelling errors in here, by the way, none of our PR and press people read this, so it's on me. Like, if you can get access to the entire world's wealth of knowledge because you have an iPhone in front of you, it seems silly that you can't exchange money without the money becoming less valuable, right? Philosophically, it makes no sense, yet we've all accepted it. And again, money is less valuable because of the way you choose to exchange it. It is your choice. So I assume like everybody in the room has a credit card or a debit card, a piece of plastic with a backstripe on it, right? Every time you use it, your money, the economy's money, everybody's money is less valuable because that's the way you pay. That's simple. And the more you exchange it, the less valuable it actually becomes. I mean, I think that you just need to look at a transaction from the perspective of whenever you're transferring money. So outside of that, there's obviously a lot of things that the system kind of gets wrong. Identity, who you are. Credit cards don't give a shit. I got your 16-digit account number because it got left behind everywhere that you've used it in your entire life. I piped it into a website, maybe let me buy some shit. Identity is wrong, right? So fraud, same thing. It's wrong. You can go on the internet and buy 10,000 people's credit cards for, I don't know, a few $1,000s. It's wrong. You shouldn't be able to do that, right? Maybe they should dynamically generate, I don't know. Security, it's wrong. Cards are pretty stupid. They can't analyze that much around you. They can only analyze what they've been swiped next to. Phones are not dumb. Phones have tons of data around the transaction. Smartphones, who has smartphones? So it knows where the fuck you are, right? It knows what you did last. It knows what other apps are open. It knows in all likelihood what behavior that you're engaging in is you or not. And I really think that the current system has personal information wrong as well. You should be able to log into visa.com and see everywhere you've ever swiped a Visa card that's currently storing your Visa card number. And then if you don't want them to have that number anymore, you should be able to say, revoke. Not call the stupid fucking line on the bottom of a bill to say, please don't bill me anymore. That's not the way it should work, right? It's your money, you should be in control of it. It should be permissions-based, not, I didn't really know, now I have your stuff. So again, it's a huge relay system, and we need to stop just putting anything in areas where we don't really understand what we're doing. So every time that you scan your card, it's going between probably 4 other computers that you don't really see, aggregated in databases you don't really know about, but you're trusting that they are secure, which I assure you, inside of probably every time you swipe your card, they're not all the way down the line. It's just not possible. It goes too many places. And again, the problem just keeps getting bigger. So we basically play hot potato with data. Whoever has the biggest exposures is kind of like whoever gets blamed, but the system as a whole just needs to be replaced. How long am I talking, by the way?
As long as you want to.
Sounds good. So, if you think every time, like, a credit card number is passed anywhere, it's no different than somebody just giving a credit card out over the phone. I mean, the problem with writing it down, people think, is that, well, someone can pick that up. You put it in a database, it stays there for fucking ever, right? So there's a lot of ways to look at it, but the fraud issue obviously adds up. Costs U.S. consumers about $8 billion a year. Banks don't pay for that. Credit card companies don't pay for that. You pay for that. It's that simple. It just gets rolled into whatever it is that you're utilizing, and you pay for it. So obviously, credit card information and payment information is being stored a lot of places, and the inefficiencies inside of the system, you're paying for those too. So you as a consumer, you're paying for all the problems inside of the architecture, and the architecture takes a $48 billion chunk every year just so you can have the luxury of getting paid. Like, pretty good business, right? Because it's so expensive, there's also $32 trillion moving in the economy annually that can't even use these systems that are even slower. It's called ACH. How many people know ACH in the room? Oh, that is so awesome. So most people who say they're consumers don't always know ACH, right? So the flip side, in the back end of our business, we created a real-time ACH system, which is built on essentially an internet-based clearinghouse that we give away to banks. So we can do real-time transfers on any amount of money for basically no cost. That's kind of the back end of how we do all this stuff. So this is, probably goes without saying in this room, but it's worth just putting up there. Banks do make money on interchange. The network does make money when it goes through. ISOs and MSPs do make money. You got a lot of people inside of the chain who want to keep their jobs and so on and so forth, but cars put horses out of business. Like, shit's got to evolve. So all this stuff is just crap on top of the network that it should just come with your bank account, right? So, sorry, I typed this morning, so I've got a lot of like, what's coming up next? And again, you're always paying for the problems. Oh, salespeople, huge problem with payments. And no matter what happens, the contract will confuse the shit out of you. Probably even more so if you like have a BIN or like an ISO agreement or something like that. Even as a general merchant, no one even really understands what they're at risk for and what they're not. And yeah, there's a lot of variables that are difficult to predict, but at the end of the day, it's probably more complicated than it should be, simply to get paid. And we also have legacy debt. So the beauty of starting over is we get to cheat. We only get to use like the new hotness. We don't have to touch old systems. We don't have to go to ISO standards. We can do shit in Ruby, right? Like, we don't have to bring in 30 years, 40 years, 50 years of technical debt into the system to support, so we don't have those, basically, I'm just gonna go with legacy debt. I'll just stop there. Call centers, we don't need big-ass call centers to deal with all the problems either. So, mailing these stuff, believe it or not, does cost money, and even though it keeps showing up, you're paying for that too. So, again, don't do that. Just email me and give it to me for free. Identity theft. How many people have had their identities stolen before? So I don't look at my statements very often, so it's possible it's happened to me. So it's a pretty common problem, but it's totally ignored. So one of the issues that we have right now in all the systems is all the reporting is based on retroactive reporting, right? The systems themselves have no real memory. So instead of investing in things like how do we proactively analyze what is happening, instead of retroactively trying to report it, we're going to spend $800 million on marketing this year, right? So, I'm just going to read that and say, yep, you got to replace the damn thing, right? So, we have like certain opportunities in payments right now that pave the way for different types of technologies to actually take over. And one is the fact that we are moving from cards to phones. Everybody is like participating in this like venture-backed experiment of what behavior is going to be why you pay with your phone, right? No one knows why. If we knew why, we would all already be doing it. One of the credit companies already would have bought it, and it would already be commoditized, right? We don't know. The proliferation of the internet, it's available everywhere, so we have this instant messaging system that's actually secure, that when done correctly, will discover new problems, but it's way better than what we're currently utilizing. And messaging systems, I mean shit, in your phone, how many ways can someone talk to you? Whether or not you got BBM or SMS or blah, 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 blah. I just had to download an app so I could talk to my girlfriend without everybody else bugging the shit out of me about meeting Ashton, right? So, sick, I overheard somebody talking about it. So, money has no weight anymore, and so, like, we all understand that. Like, how much does $1,000 weigh in gold? Does anyone know?
Plus 1 ounce.
That's fucking impressive. I'm just gonna say, yeah, that's right, it took you a minute to figure it out, right? So, like, no, we don't think about it in terms of weight anymore, right? It's the number of zeros behind the, like, it's how many zeros in your bank account, right? If you think about getting $1 million, you think about it in the context of it's showing up in my bank account and these are the things I can acquire with it, not it weighs this much. And that's a huge opportunity for all of us to actually change the way it works. Transparency, oddly, as a society, we don't require everything to be transparent. We only want some things to be transparent. And I think we all know that, but security is implied. No one would get away with rebuilding the current system the way it is with as many flaws as it has. It wouldn't happen, which means you go through, you fix it, people expect you to do it right the first time, and because of the way laws and regs and everything else work out, there's actually a hell of a lot more scrutiny in it. You just can't, it's not the Wild West like some people would make it out to believe. As soon as you start moving money, you're doing something that actually is regulated, right? The bank is the core of everything. Where do you keep your money? Thank you, right? At the end of the day, everybody's fucking money is in a bank, or credit union, or whatever you want to say, right? It's in an account that's regulated as a depository, depending on how complicated you want to get. So it's there, when you spend it, you want it to come out of your bank account and go to someone else. Like, there doesn't need to be all the other crap in the middle. There should only be one thing that takes care of it at a really low cost, really simply, that it does not look like this, right? Like, payments don't need to be complicated, it should be very simple. And every piece of complication means you're going to pay more for it, and so will merchants. So just, again, cut all that shit out. Stick to what is simple. So this is like a send money call in Dwolla, right? You want to send $1 million, you should be able to submit it in a line of code, right? You don't need to go through 17 people to go get to it. If you want to get a list of all transactions as it relates to any merchants or anything else, you should be able to throw out a line of code and get it back. You should only be able to do that when people ask or tell you that I would like you to do this on my behalf. You become a vehicle for their data. That's what you are. You shouldn't just go store it and scrape it. You shouldn't do any of that shit. When you want some sort of a history, you should be able just to go get it, and especially as a consumer, if you decide you want this stuff, it should be as available to you as it is any developer. So, like, this takes it a step further. So this basically says, what if I want to grab a specific user and see who and what is around that user in, like, meat space, right? So when we're talking about, like, geolocation, like, where the fuck am I around? And can I pay those people with Dwolla? Maybe Dwolla has nothing to do with it, but is it valuable as it relates to this is a trusted entity that people have chosen that they want to pay with, and it can start looking at which friends and which locations are close to it. Like, that's something that should be built into the network. Why? If nothing else, it's really useful for fraud mitigation. So, again, like, what is around me? Where can I pay? Well, why can't you just build right on top of the network everything you need to be able to facilitate that payment and open it up for developers to build other behaviors on top of it? So this whole kind of experience and everything that Dwolla is something that a developer could grab and rebuild like a prettier, a different, a whatever version of everything that we do. And it's our belief that at the end of the day, you should only authorize platforms. You should never give them your financial data. And you should be able to revoke it whenever you want. Credit cards just make things complicated. They shouldn't be that complicated. And oddly enough, we all keep utilizing the damn things. Just stick from bank to bank. So everything that's not necessary, just throw it in the fucking trash, get rid of it, rebuild it, make it better. Right? Don't take what's already there, just do it differently, get rid of the problems, because it will be cheaper long term. Make sure it's real time. Right? People transfer money, don't drop it into needless queues, don't put it into batches because you don't know how to analyze it, just make it real time. There are things that we can't replace, like we need to work with ACH as we scale other platforms. And there's things that will have to deal with delays, but ultimately, when it hits our network and we're in control, everything's real time. That's the way it should be. When you get a latte, you want the latte now, right? Why should the merchant philosophically have to wait a day and a half to get his fucking money? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I'm not swearing enough, am I? So, the system itself should also have a memory because it needs to analyze what has happened inside of the system. I don't know if it makes any of you nervous, but when you send out your bank information, there's no memory of any transactions on your bank account, but with two numbers, I can pull all the money out of your bank. That's scary. That's weird. That shouldn't happen, right? That's why we have all the problems that we do. So I also think that opportunity in ubiquity also lays in the lack of corporate and political agenda, right? You can never become the standard if you already have too much of an agenda in any other way. So we've actually gone very far out of our way to not tie ourselves to any one specific thing that allows us the ability to kind of say what we want to do is we want to grow nationally, and then we want to grow globally. And the vision for the company is global acceptance, right? Questions? Questions? Yeah.
So philosophically, I totally get start over. But in terms of being able to make it happen nationally and globally, there's already all of this infrastructure out there, and there's all this stuff to try to get past to make that happen.
So integrate with it, fix it, and give it away for free.
So I was going to ask from a simple question. Why, I'm a bank, why do I like Dwolla?
So if you're a bank, you're interested in new forms of revenue. Dwolla provides you with that. If you're a bank, you want more security. Dwolla provides you with that. If you're a bank, you want to find ways that are optional to make your customers happier. So would your customers, as merchants and businesses, be interested in getting paid faster at a lower cost? That still provides you with revenue, right? So there's definitely something in it for banks, and there has to be, because without that, it'll never work. Yes, sir?
Are you familiar with the octopus card in Asia?
No, unfortunately not. I have no idea. What is the octopus card?
Well, it's basically a low transaction card that's provided. It's like a flat fee of 1%.
Is it too high?
But the reason I asked this question is that then would you consider your card as more of a, that back end to be more of a closed loop transaction?
It is,
Your
it's a set of nodes, right? Like the concept of a loop is whatever, it's a set of nodes. And ultimately, we might become the rails that they ride and they just mark up for whatever the fuck they're marketing to other people. Basically what we want to do is be the link to everybody to get access to their money. And however people build value adds for consumers, like the Octopus card, which maybe the value is they integrate and they settle on our network to be able to do lower real-time transaction costs for them, which is good for them because they don't have to pay the other rails. They make more money at the POS where they're integrated, which is the advantage the consumer now has to use that product over whatever portal everyone else is providing, right? So if the real-time backbone is there for any developer, any card, anybody to go leverage, how people use it, we don't really know, and we're agnostic to how you use it. We don't care, right? If the mutation it ends up coming back to is another plastic card, we can't predict that. We just know that there's a huge opportunity in the way that payments are shifting right now. Does that make sense? So, well, I'm not going to, okay, sure.
Yeah, so essentially what you're doing is, like with a credit card, what a merchant gets is a promise to get paid. That's what an approval code is. Instead of giving them a promise to get paid, you're actually getting them paid. So they
Just move money, right?
So they can validate that the money is already there really at the point of sale. So before the merchandise leaves the store, they can essentially validate that the money has reached their account already.
So I should be able to fill my car with gas, and the merchant should have it in their bank account in less than a second.
Right.
That should be the same at a coffee shop. That should be the same when I transfer $50,000 overseas for some manufacturing order, right? And there's a million abuses of a system like that, but there's more ways to use it for good, and the effect that it can have on people's lives as it relates to cost far outweighs its risks. So, sure.
I just wondering what's your roadmap? Where is it available now? Like how can you use all of it?
So, one, it's free. It doesn't cost anything to just like go check out, right? So you can go search Dwolla, you'll find it pretty quick, right? So merchants themselves, we're not really doing anything. They're finding us and signing up, right? So we're building a merchant base. It's pretty organic. We know how big the funnel is. It's getting bigger every day. Consumers are just the same, right? So actually things like coffee seems like a really obvious thing and is a good business for us, but tithing is an even better business for us. Real estate is a great business for us. People that are getting paid to provide digital content is another great business for us. So think I'm a blog with like 20 writers. I don't want to use PayPal for this very specific reason, it's too expensive. And the benefit and downfall of actually being a true payment network that wants to be agnostic is you're not scaling against any one thing or any one customer or any one view of who you are. You're just letting people utilize the system however they want to use it, while basically keeping them within the buffers of what they can and cannot do.
So you can do cross-border transfers?
We don't allow you to. We absolutely could, but we don't allow you to. The cost from a regulatory perspective and the cost in terms of a staffing perspective, it is not the right time for us. We will go into that world, but our team is very small. We only have about 20. And it's too small to be looking at international expansion. The uptick would probably
So
kill
you
us.
can only, right now it ships in the US?
Yep, US alone. US dollars, US. Yes, sir.
So what is your business model? How do you pay your engineers?
So 25 cents a transaction is enough when you can move money for virtually free. So that's the retail cost, not our wholesale cost, right? We're doing business with banks and everybody else, it's much lower.
Well, you still have a wholesale cost, even with those sub $10 transactions, and the wholesale for any is like, you don't have to tell us, but it's like around 2 cents or sub 2 cents for each transaction.
So it's much lower than that.
Okay.
And if you have enough volume, it's negligible, right? So with that said, there's enough there.
So even to give it away for free, because they could have a lot of volume under $10. That's where cash lives.
If you use the network a lot, statistically,
Yeah.
for a lot of transactions under $10, it's likely and proven that you'll use it more for transactions over $10 as well. Where if we just bite the bullet and say, let's just say philosophically, should microtransactions be free? So they remain valuable. Yes, it should be free.
Got it. So your incentive is both for the merchant and for the consumer to use it more.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
So, as far as I know, the banks still support ACH. They do not have the real-time interface.
Right, the Fed's been working on it since the 70s, and now that we're saying like it's here it is, like silver platter, this is for you, it's been an interesting conversation.
So while you settle with your merchants real time and the banks take their own time, 1 or 2 days, are you taking the risk in the meantime?
So there's a lot more layers inside of that engine that is inside of like an ACH kind of file delivery process, right? So the way we look at it is there should be increased security for the end consumer, there should be increased security for the bank, there should be real-time reporting for the bank, and there should be real-time settlement for the merchant. So if you just tie that in to this engine and let them have that, we think that's really valuable. And the conversation has been good. It's awkward at first, but pretty good, normally because I dress like this. So. Yes, ma'am.
How do you deal with things like dispute resolution?
So the beauty of dispute resolution is much of it's very well documented and regulated. So you follow the regs. Like debit regs and credit regs are there. And because one of our investors is a credit and debit processor, whose back end is also dispute resolution, they've been pretty helpful with that. They basically just follow the reg. Yes, sir.
I get the practicality of building it on the bank networks, but it seems like a natural user would be somebody who wants to use cash in the system, but doesn't the cost of that blow up the model?
So no, I would actually say the model itself, cash is an expense of the model. Cash is a physical representation of the numbers in another computer that somebody else paid to have like shipped to the door and then distributed, right?
Assuming it's on the computer, the question is...
It's always on the computer. It's always on the computer.
A lot of kids don't have cash on the computer.
So actually they do. If they have any cash or they have a debit card or a credit card.
But they don't have a debit card or a credit card, they're prohibited from having it.
The beginning of that process is always in a bank account or it's a number represented in a computer. That is always the origin. We take it out because the system is inefficient to embody it in a physical form so somebody else can exchange it. They have access to the fucking internet, like pay your kids to the internet, right? Why even have the expense of that physical cash or the risk that you could lose it or so on and so forth or forget where you spent it or so on and so forth? I totally understand what you're saying.
You just protect it.
Yeah, I just believe where it comes from is where you should be able to get it from. Yes, sir.
Just a point of clarification. Are you guys putting a stored value account in the middle, or is it some other
We have, simply because it's not that we want to. It's that it becomes kind of like, what if you want to do this? So let's just let you do that, right? So we actually are not the stored value. We're just the interface for it. What stores the value is the network of banks behind Dwolla. Dwolla is like an API-based visa, right? Yes, sir.
How much of KYC do you do? What is KYC?
We built our own and all.
Could you repeat the question?
He asked what kind of KYC, which would be like know your customer requirements, that you would have when they open a bank account, would you do on those clients?
Yeah.
And because we are part of a regulated financial system and one of our investors is a financial institution, we understand really well what we are, call it required to do. And rather than fighting that, we just embrace the hell out of it. And we actually think there's a lot you can do when they're not coming through in like a paper form, there's a lot you can't do. But, the answer is all. If you open a bank account online, Dwolla's probably doing something similar.